news, plans and demonstrations. Stay tuned and all will be revealed. Well, good evening everyone and welcome back to Piccadilly Eastway. And as you can see, there has been some developments. Now, this video is all about all of those different things that have changed. But obviously the big one, as you can see right in front of you, is I have ballasted the middle section of the layout. So that goes up to there where the snowplow train is and down to there on this half of the layout. And the reason I haven't gone any further is because I've run out of ballast. Now, as you can see, I've used varying colours in this. So there's a mixture of light grey and granite and brown, and there's some dark grey in there and all sorts of different ones. That is the original colour as was, and I wanted some lines to remain sort of relatively clean and relatively freshly laid. But I do like the sort of speckled, sort of all over the place look, because sometimes that's what it's like. There's no rights and wrongs with ballasting, and personally I like a little bit of drama, if you like. And I mean, at the end of the day, model railways is a bit of theatre really, isn't it? So you can make it how you want it to be, and that's exactly what I've done. Now, as these coaches come round, you will see that these Mark IIs have been weathered up as well. So the first one is relatively minor, so it's just the roof and the underside on that one. Second one has quite a lot of sort of peeling work going on there, and you can see all varying different sorts of, there's some cleaner ones, and it just varies. Again, it's all part of the drama and interest when the trains are going past, just to give you something extra to look at instead of everything all looking exactly the same. Okay. Well, I've made a boo-boo, but hopefully all should be well. As you can see, I put all the ballast down, and it's still drying. It's been 2 days in this particular section, and there's a section further over there which I'll show you later. I forgot to put the cable trunking in, so it's a case of digging out a channel. Gratefully it's still wet, but it's highly unadvisable because you may muck it up, and I nearly have. Although I'll be honest, I do feel quite confident about putting it back down again. These things are never sit flat anyway, and they're bumping and bobbing about all over the place, and there'll be some loose plates on there. So hopefully when the actual base part of it's gone off, I should be able to clean it out and put some plates over it. But as you can see now, this is now 2 or 3 days later. Sorry about the shadow, but you can see all that trunking has sort of settled in there quite nicely. I've got the tops to put on, which I think are those, and I can cut them obviously into smaller sections should I want to. And I do want some sort of random lids as well, and I'll show you this end too. There's some more there. I've cleaned that one out a little bit more, whereas this one does need a little bit more cleaning out. And then that will run around the around the inside, I think, or the outside, I'm not sure. But it will come, there will be more down here, and once I've worked out where the boxes are going to go, the relay boxes, then that will go on as well. Welcome back. So you can see now I've got the scene that you saw in a previous video where I scenicked up this area purely to get some instant scenery on the layout, because it's going to take quite a while for the top level to start getting to anything like this amount of detail. So in the first clip you will have seen the 47, which is currently just there, come onto the turntable and turn round. Now, I did have a chap comment on the last video, the fact that the Pico turntable does have a split ring in it. So as the turntable turns, the polarity will automatically change. And I get that. And so I put this on not realising that, or put this on not realising that. And I removed it from the top level because if you remember, the flirt was cutting out, or causing it to cut out, because of 2 motors, 2 decoders and 2 stay alives. So it wasn't working on the top level. So I thought, well, on the turntable, it's going to be absolutely perfect because there's only 1 locomotive, 1 motor, 1 decoder. Perfect. However, as we've pointed out, this has got its own polarity switching. So did I need it? Not really. But when I ran that 47 on, it went on beautifully, no issues at all. As I turned it round, obviously it's going to cut out because that's the turntable, that is the sound. The power's going to cut out because that's the way it works. There's a ring this side and a ring this side, and there's a gap runs between the two. And that gap has to be big enough for the pins to enter the gap and completely shut down the power before it goes back again and re-energizes the power. So this track, whichever way round it is, whether it's this one or whether it's the other way round, i.e. just like that, is going to always be the same polarity as that track. And it doesn't matter which way round otherwise. But the problem was this cut out in the same way as it did on the top level. So for me, it's failed on 2 applications. So for me, I'm sorry, but it's not fit for purpose. So I might talk to my local model shop and see if there's anything we can do. I might be able to get a refund on it. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Anyway, let's move on. Right, so just to show you briefly then, so the track wire comes in from here. Now I've just got a terminal block connecting it up there, and then that just goes straight to the turntable. So I've removed that Rev 1 module as I suggested. So if I took that Rev 1 module off, what did I do in its place? So what I've actually done is to fit a double pole, double throw switch there. See that the switch is pointing up at the moment. Now, as I've suggested before, I've got 4 legs coming in. So it's there, and then through the middle line, and there's another set over there. So when that switch is in the up position, a train can come in on this line here, like that, and can also go down there. It doesn't matter, and it can enter up there. But I have to switch it to the down position for it to exit at this point here. So what do I mean by the down position? I take the switch and I press it down just like that, which then means I enter a train here, or exit a train, or enter a train here, or exit just there. And I have to switch it again if I want to go out the top section. I hope that's a bit clearer. Well, as you can see now, that the bottom section and the traverser has now been lit up. And if you look underneath there, you will see that it was the lighting strip that used to run above the original Piccadilly sidings layout. So it's all LEDs, as you can see just under there. So if I just take you over, and you can see now that I've changed this bottom switch for the traverser and now got one of these double switches in there. So that one controls the electrics to the bottom level, the actual DCC. And this section is completely separate. So that is the lights, as you can see there. Okay, so I can turn those on independently of the Z21 because it's wired completely differently and it has its own separate plug, which makes life so much easier. So I can actually do something down here and not have to turn the controller on. Let's move on. But one of the biggest things that I found difficult was, particularly when it was dark, was aligning the tracks just there. Now, I am aware that that gap is enormous, but it was very difficult to align that track and make sure a train would run over it. They will run over that gap, by the way, although I am going to replace that piece of track there because the gaps at both ends are quite ridiculous, really. And I think part of that is because we're in winter now and it's a lot colder, and it did expand by a good millimetre. So I probably will replace it by another piece, which is about another millimetre or so longer. But I've got a mirror there now, so you can see whether the tracks are in line or not. And that has made an enormous difference. Welcome back. Now, in a previous clip, you will have seen me discuss the entry and exit line coming into the traverser and how important it is to align the tracks. So that's why I used the mirror. And you can see just by moving it just ever so slightly, I can get it exactly before a train comes anywhere near it. However, I'm having a few issues because this track number 2 and track number 3 are effectively redundant, because to get a train onto them, I have to take it onto these lines and then back down onto the tracks, because you may remember when I put this in that the traverser is as far that way as it will go. So I can bring the tracks down here, and as you can see, I can line up track number 2 to track number, well, the first track just here, and then obviously any of the others. So that is not an issue, and even track number 3 lines up with it, no problems whatsoever. Can't do 4, but I don't need to. So the idea would be that all the big trains come in from 4 through to 9. So, but I need to be able to get a train on tracks 2 and 3 to make them more efficient, to make them work. So I'm holding the camera low. Now you can probably see the clip in the middle of the screen. So if you kind of look directly up, you'll see the entry and exit track to the traverser. So I'm thinking of putting in another point and then having another track coming in around this area here. Now, the 2 tracks will obviously connect with the point, so they don't need to align with each other. So one track can align to the traverser and then the other track. And that will allow me to use track number 2, and then when I come in on that one to line up with number 9 at the far end. So I will try and get that done over the holiday. Obviously that clip will need to come out, and I need to work out another way of securing the board. That's probably not going to be such a massive issue, but nevertheless, that clip will be in the way to get this to work. But it's something to work on, isn't it? Now, the other part of it as well is that That area behind the mirror is going to be used for storage. I desperately need locomotive storage and DMU storage and short train storage, but also I'm thinking about using that that little traverser that I had on the first version of Piccadilly sidings. You may remember it. I'm not going to go and get it out again now, but I want to try and fit that in somehow, even if I take a point off this track and have it mounted in the circle area at the end there. I don't know at the moment. It's just a basic idea and I've still got to work it all out. But I desperately need to increase the amount of train storage because there will be a Class 800 coming very, very soon. And that will take up a whole line. Well, certainly a 5-car will take up a significant amount and certainly a lot more than the flirt that's sitting in the background at the moment. So, you know, I need to prepare, and I do want a couple of flirts, a couple of 800s, and so on and so on and so on, and yet still have enough space for the other trains like the 16-ton mineral wagons and the box fans that have not come out yet. They're still in storage, but not also have space for trains like that, more heritage style trains, but nevertheless I need the space to store them. Okay, let's move on. Right, so for those of you who've been watching the channel for a little while, you remember that I made these probably just a few weeks ago, to be honest with you. And they are 3D printed by myself, designed by myself, and 3D printed myself. Now, I've had a couple of people ask me, can I make these for them? I'm really sorry, but I'm not operating a business. These are for my layout. And the particular video that these were featured on, the idea was to encourage people to have a go themselves. And these came in probably around about a quarter of the price of the ones that you can buy from a certain manufacturer. But anyway, why have I said this? Well, I'm thinking about my next wagon. So that is this, and you can see it is based on the container train wagon, which is an FEAF wagon. So these come in pairs, and I've got another one. Now this was for the water train, the track cleaning train with the blue tanks on it. Can't think of the exact term. So that is going to be continued to be used with that, obviously, but I do want to be making something similar for the actual containers, along with some other types of container wagons. Now you can see I've put a slot in there so I can fill that up with these 5-gram weights, so I should be able to get it a reasonable weight there, and then obviously the bogies go onto there. It is a little bit rough on the top side at the moment. It will need a little bit of sanding down, and then obviously all these different parts need to be made out of resin and pieces of wire and all sorts of bits and bobs here, there and everywhere. But we'll get there, and that will be continued at some point in 2026, and hopefully we'll be able to get a train of those. But you may have also noticed I've made some containers too. So this is just a 20-footer, so like that. Okay, and they are made in 3 pieces. So there's the middle section, which is filament printed, and they have these slots. If I show you a longer one, so you've got slots in there for, again, 10-gram weights, if I choose to use 3, of course, and the 20-footers have got one 10-gram slot, and then the 2 end sections are resin printed, kind of like that. So there's an end bit. Now the only problem with these is they do tend to warp a bit. Now with a bit of force they will force themselves down, but I have had some breakages. See, that one's warped quite badly, so I'm not sure I'm going to be able to rescue that, but that's the container from the filament. So you can see I'm quite pleased with the way that's come out, and then with some vinyls on the top, I think they're going to start to look quite good. When you look at container trains, you do see some taller containers as well, so I probably will make some taller ones, and there's also some ones with tanks in. Now, whether I buy those, whether I try and make those again, I'm not sure at the moment, but one step at a time. That'll be a project for next year. Right, and now on to the final section of this video, and I'm going to demonstrate the whole purpose of this layout. Somebody did ask me to for a tour, so hopefully this will show. So I've got a big circle at this end and a big circle at that end, and the whole point of doing that is because my settee, although it's quite small, was in that corner just there, so sort of that bit, and the layout was sort of across there, so I didn't have an awful lot of space. So I've been able to bring the settee back into the middle of the room, and although it's not a massive gap here, there is enough space to be able to sit down and feel that I've got space around me, if that makes sense. I'm not cramped up in the corner like I was last year. So anyway, the train has now come out as if it's come out up the ramp, and it's now going clockwise. So I'm just going to do one more revolution, and I'm going to then take it down the middle line across there, and then it will go out this way and will be on the inside track and come back down this line just here, ready to go back down again, and you'll hopefully be able to see that. Now, to get that onto the for the entry onto this line, I need to be able to switch this point. Oops, and there's seemingly a bit of plastic in there. I'm surprised that didn't derail anything. So now I've switched that point over there. The train will then come in, and I do need to concentrate. So it's going round. The DPT switch is in the up position. So I'm now going to go down here now, and I'm going to wait till the last coach is into the section and switch down like that. Now I am going to slow the train down somewhat because I need to check whether I've switched all the points. So there's that one. In fact, I'll come back to you, but you can see the train now is on the inside track going the other way. I'll see you in a second. Right, there we are. So it's literally just made the journey from down there to here, and I've switched the points. So it'll do a loop going the other way now. I'll speed it up a little bit. See, we're doing it on the Z21. There we go. And then we'll send it down. Now, there is a lot to think about when you switch a train from one way to the other. I'm not going to lie, but eventually I might think about automation. I know some people say you have to put it in before you start doing it, but it's such a small layout, I don't think it would make a lot of difference, to be honest. I don't think it would be hard to convert. But you can see now the train is making its way around the inside line. Okay, now to get down the ramp, all I need to do is to flip this point here, that one, and the one over there. So now I'm going to switch that point, so it then come across onto the outer line, going multi-directional section, and then I switch that point, which will allow it to go back down onto the ramp, and we'll follow it down. I'm just double checking that all the switches are on for all the sections, and they are. And you can see what a massive difference those lights make, can't you? You can really see what's going on now. So here we go, working its way down. So it's now going to cross over onto the outer line. These are quite heart-stopping moments on camera, as you can understand. This is the first demonstration. I've not done this, well, I have a couple of times, but not much. Right, so that is on its way down now. So I'm going to pick up the iPad and put it onto the ground. So hopefully I can see, and if I come down here, you should hopefully be able to see the train coming somewhere. There it is, just under that, just see the tops of it there, and it will come around here. So you might be able to make it out coming around there now. So I'm just going to make sure that this track is now in line. I'm looking into the mirror. It doesn't look there. I think I'll just take you into that so you can see. No, it's not quite right, is it? I don't want it to derail. And we're coming in now. Good. The locomotive has got through. So I'm going to take it right to the very end. And start slowing it down now. Almost there, almost coming to a stop. And do a full stop just there. Okay, now the idea of this now would be to remove the 89 and put it into this siding just there. And the 47 is then going to go onto the other end of the train and take it back out again. Right, so the 89 is on line 6. So I'm going to remove that buffer. Oh, that's a bit stiff. And also remove number 1. Make sure the tracks are perfectly lined up. And I'm going to bring the locomotive gently onto the mini traverser. The train is still attached. So I'm going to stop the cam in a moment to release the coaches. And just there. And take the locomotive off. So onto the mini traverser completely. And we've derailed. You can't make it up, can you? So the lines must have moved a little bit whilst I was pushing the train about, but never mind. The concept is there, isn't it? You can see it works. So anyway, I'm going to move the main traverser over a little bit now, like so, and then bring the mini traverser over to line 1. And then hopefully we'll see it's all nice and lined up. I need to push this over a bit more. And yeah, that looks like it's lined up. So I'm now going to, on the Z21, switch the direction, blast the horn just to give a bit more of an effect, and the 89 can make its way up. We'll go quite slowly and I'll meet you at the other end. Right, now if you remember, this is going into the yard at the ends there. So again, hopefully those tracks are in line, not quite, just there. So the 89 is making its way. Perhaps if I put and that's just going to go into temporary storage. Speaker seems to be grumbling a little bit there, doesn't it? Right, turn the sound off and you'll see the pantograph going down. Just move you in a bit more. Oops, there's a box just fell on the floor there, never mind. And the pantograph goes down. There you go. Right, next job then is to line up the 47 with the track that's going to take out this. Now, my next job is to get the 47 from obviously this track onto this track where the coaches are. Okay, now I can't get the traverser to go to that line, so I'm just going to do a little maneuver and switch it to that line. I'll be back shortly. There we go. So just checking that those are in line, and you can see there's the coaches. Just going to switch the direction on the 47, and then we'll slowly go and couple up. Oops, there we go. As I said, when I put the traverser in, it's all about adjustments when you've got a traverser, because the weather conditions, the temperature does have an effect. Image coupled, right. So now it's a case of taking it across to the exit line, and I'm now looking in the mirror, and I reckon we're about there. Right, I think we're ready to go. Lights are in the right direction. Taking off the tail lights. There we go. Right, here we are then. Right, just going slowly for the start, just to make sure there's no derailments. First two coaches, well, the locomotive and the first coach is over. That's got to be good. And just picking you up. Coming in a second, here we go. I'm not going to go particularly fast going up the ramp, but you can see the 47 is more than capable. Through the little tunnel section. Sorry about that, a bit of a dip. I'm trying to pick up the iPad at the same time, going over the top. And I'm going to work my way over to this end section so I can switch the point as the train enters the main part of the layout. And now I can switch the point, and hopefully you can see the train. And you can see as it's come back up, it's now on the clockwise loop. And as I said before, I can easily switch it back down to take it back down again. I'll just let you watch this now. Just very briefly. And I think what I'll do is I'll wish everybody now a happy Christmas and hopefully a brilliant New Year too. And I think I'm going to sign off now. Hope you've enjoyed it, seeing all the different changes, improvements, lots of news, as I said before, and a demonstration of the layout, how it will work when it's fully well, it is fully operational, but there are other parts to still go in, as you can appreciate. All right, anyway, you just take care of everyone, and I'll catch you soon. Bye for now.